believe that we do have a quorum. The first order of business is RC1, suspension of the rules allowing for remote participation due to an executive order issued by Governor J.B. Pritzker and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Staff recommends the suspension of the rules regarding an in-person attendance requirements for public meetings, allowing for city council members and city staff to participate in this meeting remotely. Is there a second?
Second.
Right. Ms. Richardson, could you take the roll, please?
Yes. Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite.
Yes.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
Mayor Haggerty. Okay. Alderman Simmons.
Yes.
Alderman Sufferton.
Yes.
Alderman Ravel.
Aye.
Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
Thank you. So we have two not present. Everyone else is present.
All right. So that is a quorum, correct? All right. Our next item is public comments.
Oh, Mayor just joined. Sorry, I just see the mayor. He's just joined.
Okay. So we have a quorum, though, correct? We can.
That's correct, sir.
Business. All right. Our next item is public comment, and we have, let me see who has signed up. We have Misty Wittenberg, Mike Vasilko, Tina Payton, Claire Kelly, and Ray Friedman. Is Misty Wittenberg here? Good evening, Misty. How are you? You are muted. Once you unmute, you are far away. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, so I'm of course here to speak about the proposed ethics ordinance amendment. It eliminates the Board of Ethics. And I appreciate Ms. Ganderski's work on this, but I would like to ask you guys not to vote no on it. I really wish that this was for introduction and not directly for action, but there are still some issues with it. Although it does have you prosecuting violations instead of defending them, it's all through administrative proceedings, and including for, it incorporates a penalty for penal offenses that it has the city administratively adjudicating, and you actually have to do that in circuit court. There are some other issues with meeting state ethics act mandates, but the other issue with it is that we're now going to be paying special counsel to do what the board mostly used to do. So, and they did it for free. So if we're talking $30,000 a pop, that seems like a lot of unnecessary spending. A city attorney can prosecute these things before the board and still have the parties under the system. That's actually what you were supposed to be doing under the other code. And then, let's see. Oh, the other thing is that you have the special counsel who can both bring and investigate their own charges brought, which just seems right for a lot of retaliation. If, there's already some issues there with the city with having people unnecessarily investigated, and that this just opens that up. It's like too extreme in the other way. Then, and then the last thing I wanted to say is that, I brought this to you guys throughout your amending the ethics ordinance. I told you that your duty was to provide for prosecution, not defense. I told you that the board was the administrative agency, and that the rules committee and city council were statutorily precluded from doing that. And if you had listened, we wouldn't have, years later, finally an attorney who writes it in a memo. You guys have to listen. I mean, whatever, you guys who are leaving, we're never going to listen anyway. But if you listen to constituents, especially when they send you the actual laws, we could just save so much time, including the two circuit court cases that are cited in this memo. I'm just really so relieved that we're getting a new council because, I mean, this was awful. Thank you.
Thank you, Misty. Appreciate it. Next up is Mike Vasilko. Mr. Vasilko, you have 3 minutes.
I don't need the 3 minutes. I agree with everything Misty said. This should be held for further discussion and it should not be for action. Seems to me as well that there's lots of opportunities for this to go sideways. When it comes to the ethics board, it was supposed to be an independent group of people, and it turned into something that was just manipulated by the council and or certain council members, I should say, who, yes, again, to agree with Misty, I couldn't be happier that those people are leaving. So I would like, I'm just asking again that you hold this item, make it for discussion, give citizens more time to contribute, and allow the next council to also take the lead on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vasilko. Next up, Tina Payton. Tina, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. Okay. I believe that the Ethics/Rules Committee should be an outside party, not paid by the city of Evanston, and that includes the administrative hearing person, because even persons like myself, when we come in front of the administrative hearing person, they are biased. If you have someone who is paid by the city to make a decision about city officials or city items, most of the time they're going to vote on the city side. So it needs to be an independent party that has nothing to do with the city. Also, aldermen, mayor, city manager, or any party that has decision-making powers should continue to disclose their assets. I'm not sure, the language here, but from what I was gathering, that this was going to be eliminated. And it should be that they are continuing to disclose their assets. And everybody should be knowledgeable about what the city officials own or have interest in, because many aldermen vote on items which they have interest in. And the public needs to know. We're discussing transparency, and it's not transparent. And someone is going to jail. Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Next up is Claire Kelly. Claire, welcome. You have about 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm opposed to the elimination of the Board of Ethics. I think the fact that we've had so many complaints before it is an indication that we in fact need this. That's not a reason to get rid of it. If it was a board or a commission that had been around for many, many years with nobody using it or going before it, but this is the fact that there have been so many. I think this is an indication that we absolutely need a Board of Ethics. And I'd like to read a comment from Steve Berlin. He's a foremost expert and leader in governmental ethics. He is the immediate past president of the Council on Government Ethics Laws, and he's the current executive director of the Chicago Board of Ethics. And he was shocked when he heard what was coming up tonight at the Rules Committee. He provided this statement. He says, "I have never heard of a jurisdiction abolishing its ethics board or ethics commission without at the same time replacing it with a new or differently constituted board with more authority." Thank you.
All right, thank you, Claire. And final person signed up for public comment for Rules Committee is Ray Friedman. Ray, are you present?
Mr. Chair, may I also add my voice? This is Clerk Reed.
Okay, you
Have not signed up.
I'll put you down for public comment after Ray, is that?
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yes.
Okay, Ray, welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. I was on hold. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I agree with Misty, Mike, Tina, and Claire.
Okay, bye.
I'm wondering, number one, why did the ethics committee, why did they all resign to begin with? I know that you started a subcommittee. Was that the reason that the ethics committee all resigned? This is a big problem. I don't understand why the rules committee is all made up of all alder people. So isn't it supposed to be an independent body? You know, like everyone said, we're looking for an independent body to make decisions about either about each other or about residents. So a biased opinion is not going to work too good. 1 second. Okay. Please don't cancel the ethics committee. You can redo it or whatever, or vote on it, you know, after everybody's talked about it and the residents get a chance to talk about it. I thought that we're working on more transparency and more accountability, not less. We'd like to see zoning ordinance and rules and ethics be followed as they're written. It's a serious issue here when policies and procedures are not followed, as has been in the past. We've consistently asked for feedback on our public comments, which are consistently ignored. Asking for conversation or dialogue as intended by public comment, it's written, it's in black and white in every single agenda that's posted for city council, and you consistently ignore it. For the past 3 years, I've signed up and received notices for all meetings, anything that I can sign up for, garbage pickup, street cleaning, snow removal, et cetera, et cetera. For the last month, I have received 5 to 10 emails a day from the city of Evanston. I didn't receive any notices for city council meeting last time or this time. I didn't receive any email for a ward meeting, which I missed last Thursday. I don't understand it. That's crazy. I don't understand why a TEFRA hearing, which is mandated by law, cannot be posted so that residents know that there's a TEFRA hearing. What is it? What's it about? It's our money. So anyhow, we need a voice and a choice. Please make that happen. We need clarity and procedures to be followed to everyone's satisfaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. And then the final speaker, 8th Ward resident, Tom Reed, you're recognized for 3 minutes. You are in the
Yes. Okay. There we are. I am just adding my voice here. I do think that it's good that the council is considering adopting a measure that is more closely in line with state requirements. But the issue here is I believe that this requires more public input. As Misty noted, I think it swings the pendulum too far and removes a clean or a good public process where a citizen board is able to hold elected officials accountable. The clerk's office held an ethics discussion with Steve Berlin and former ethics board members, and I think that kind of public discussion is necessary. One of the things that we glean from it is it really is important to have a citizen, at least partially filled ethics board for advisory opinions as well as adjudicating actual ethics violations. And I think we needed a hybrid of that along with some of the proposals that are in this current draft. And so I hope that the council will take, that the rules committee will take more time to look at this and, of course, have a discussion on it today, but move this forward for introduction today and action at another Rules Committee meeting, and then move it forward to council so there's a robust public process. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. With that, I believe we are done with public comments. Which brings us to item RM1, approval of the minutes of the Rules Committee meeting of December 7th, 2020. Staff recommends approval of the minutes of the Rules Committee meeting of December 7th, 2020. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right. Dar, are you the roll call person now? Hi, Dar, good to see you.
I am. Hello. Okay, I'm ready. Alderman Fisk? She's not there?
No,
Okay.
I mean, not here.
Great. Okay, Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin?
Aye.
Alderman Ravel?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey? Alderman Rainey?
Oh, Ann is muted.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Fleming
Aye.
and Mayor Haggerty.
Aye.
Minutes approved.
All right. The next item is item RM2, approval of the minutes of the Rules Committee meeting of October 19th, 2020. Staff recommends approval of the minutes of the Rules Committee meeting of October 19th, 2020. This is for action.
Move approval.
Is there a second? All right. Any discussion? Seeing none. Dar, if you take it away.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin?
Aye.
Alderman Ravel?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
Mayor Haggerty.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now to items for consideration. Item R1 is Ordinance 16021, amending Chapter 2, Section 13, Board of Animal Control. Staff recommends City Council adoption of Ordinance 16021, amending Chapter 2, Section 13, Board of Animal Control. This ordinance amends Chapter 2, Section 13 by renaming the Board of Animal Control to the Animal Welfare Board and provides updates to include a member from the Evanston Animal Shelter and removes the codification of the staff liaison. This is for action. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Ravel.
I'd like to call your attention to page 14 of the Rules Committee packet, powers and duties, item C. So first of all, it refers to the Health and Human Services Committee, which is not quite the title. It should be the Human Services Committee. I don't know, and I just found that phrase, that sentence a little unclear as to what was intended.
All right. Kimberly, or Ms. Richardson, please.
Oh. Sorry, give me 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't sure you can hear me. So thank you for that catch. We try our best not to make those typo errors, Alderman Ravel. However, your concern is regarding section
Section C.
Section C being,
Under the powers and duties, it's on page 14 of our packet.
got it, sorry, I have not looked at this in a couple weeks. Okay, so what we were attempting to do, and we can go back and revisit it, is that this language was already in the committee's pack, or in the city council, in the ordinance originally. So we didn't change anything that you don't see crossed out. So
The language that's crossed out is saying that the concerns, it refers to the chief animal warden, but the new language that's underlined refers to the animal welfare board. So I
Correct.
didn't know whether that was what was intended.
That's correct. It was intended, and that's still correct. So the animal welfare, we don't have a chief animal warden. We have an animal warden. And so we were just keeping the language consistent.
So the recommendations and updates are to go to the animal warden or to the, well,
It's supposed to go to the EAS and then also the animal warden, if there's any policy or any changes that they want to discuss. So they don't typically do a lot of this, but if that was the case, this is the process for which it's supposed to be discussed and reviewed through. Unfortunately, this is not something that they've done presently, but we didn't want to take it out. But we can always go back and revisit it with the board again to make sure that this is language that they want to keep in.
yeah, I just want to make sure we're making the recommendations and updates to the right entity. So
That
whoever.
is correct. So, I mean, that is who it's supposed to go to. So we didn't change the spirit of how they currently report. It's just that they don't do it as frequently as they did at the time of this creation of the ordinance when it initially was created. So, you know, this is what we're coming across is that we're finding a lot of ordinances where the language doesn't match current practice. And so the questions we keep going back and forth on, do we update or do we keep in that language just so they have it there, or do we take it out? So we can go back if that's okay, to get more clarity so we can make sure that you feel comfortable and the other members of City Council feel comfortable with the amended language.
Alderman Rainey, then Alderman Nguyen.
Alderman Ravel, do you have a problem with D, that the board could explore and conduct public relations efforts in coordination with the animal warden?
I don't have a problem with anything. I just like it to be, like, I just wanted to say what we wanted to say is all.
I mean, I think that's a really good idea because I know that I've interacted with both parties and not always does one know what the other is doing. And so I think really there should be a really good relationship between the two operatives.
That sounds good.
So that sounds like we need to get the individual who staffed this committee is in the police department. So what we probably should have is the animal warden as part of that conversation outside of that individual staff person. That's it.
Alderman Nguyen.
I see what Alderman Ravel is saying. That sentence that's at the bottom of the paragraph, to make recommendations to the Health and Human Services Committee for changes, recommendations, and updates to the Animal Welfare Board, it's just hanging out there. And it's almost as if it should be another A, B, C, D, E, F. So I think we should just send this back and get clarification because that sentence doesn't make sense there. And maybe they just forgot to renumber it. But
I can go back to them.
Go back. Yeah.
No problem. We can go back. It's not a big issue. We just want to make sure there's some clarity. But is there any other areas that we should be addressing once we have them re-review again?
Alderman Wilson, did you have a question?
Not really. It's more of a comment, but I understand these points, but it seems to me it would make sense to advance it from rules onto council, and we can make those adjustments, by the time it's at council next, instead of holding in the rules, because rules is so infrequent that it ties it up for one time.
I would agree with that. Let's move it to council and then ask whoever was making these changes to just clarify that.
Okay, I will work with staff.
Yeah, and rules items aren't on the council agenda tonight anyway, so it's going to be at a date in the future.
All right, is there any further discussion? If not, we can go ahead and vote.
So would we approve this with amendments then to the language? Because for the record, Alderman.
I think we should approve it. I would approve it and then we can amend it at the council.
Okay.
Is that all right with you, Alderman Ravel?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
No, Alderman Rainey is making a face.
There are other sentences in here that don't make any sense.
Oh dear.
Did this come from the Animal Control Board?
This was reviewed by Animal Control Board. This was reviewed by Animal Welfare Board. However, it was in conjunction with staff and the law department.
I think we should send it back to the Animal Welfare Board. That's what I think we should do. I mean, this E, the first sentence in E makes no sense whatsoever. The board will provide input and recommendations to the city regarding issues animal control.
Okay.
So so what it tells us is that there's a lot of ordinances that look like this because that wasn't even changed. So we will have them go back and review it and read it out loud to themselves. And then we'll come back to the next rules committee. That's not a problem.
That would be good. Yeah.
We will have another rules committee, so it will come back when it's ready.
Okay. All right, so we're just holding this and,
Yeah.
all right. Excellent. With that, why don't we move on to item R2? I move item R2, which is 20-021, amending Title 1, Chapter 10 of the Evanston City Code, City of Evanston Code of Ethics and Board of Ethics. Staff recommends City Council adoption of Ordinance 20-021, amending Title 1, Chapter 10 of the Evanston City Code, City of Evanston Code of Ethics and Board of Ethics. This is for action.
Second.
All right. Seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Is there any discussion? Alderman Wilson.
Just, I guess, a couple of comments. I appreciate, obviously, a good bit of time and effort went into the thought process here, but I want to reiterate that this is not eliminating the code of ethics. So, of course, the code of ethics is still in place and the rules still have to be complied with. My observation over a number of years is that that the Board of Ethics, despite a valiant effort over an extended period of time, really had a lot of difficulty in getting through their work. So this to me seems like it's going to be a much more effective way of addressing the provisions of the code. It enables some different penalty alternatives. So I think this is going to be much more effective, and I think that despite the concerns, I respect that there are concerns, but despite those concerns, I think that people are going to find that this is going to be a much more satisfactory way of addressing this. I also want to point out that, again, this is our Rules Committee tonight. This will come back to Council at a later date. So this isn't the final action tonight. It'll come back to Council for further discussion and consideration.
All right. Is there anybody else? Alderman Fleming, then Alderman Rainey.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Wilson, for bringing the point up about this not going to council tonight. I think that was confusing even for me. So, Mr. Cummings, I had spoken to, I think you and Ms. Gradanski earlier about this. If you can just kind of speak to what this is. I know that there's been lots of frustration around the ethics committee, both when we had the attorney in and then when we had the board going. And one suggestion I had made was that maybe when this comes back, it has more of a flow chart so people understand who's what and where things go, and particularly about if we're going to hire outside counsel, who's going to be responsible for them and all those kind of things. So if you could just give us a kind of breakdown of what this is for folks who have not read the packet and are not here tonight. I do think it's important given all the tension around the ethics board.
Absolutely. Good evening, members of the Rules Committee, Mayor Haggerty, Nicholas Cummings, now Corporation Counsel for the City of Evanston. So just to respond to Alderman Fleming, as well as some of the public comments, the City of Evanston doesn't have an Office of the Inspector General. So most other municipalities that are large enough have an Office of the Inspector General whose job it would be to sort of investigate and prosecute these claims, and then take it to some administrative body in order to prosecute. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here. The special counsel would act as the Office of Inspector General. They would be a separate and apart from the law department. The law department would have an inherent conflict and interest in prosecuting the ethics claims because the law department's job is to defend the city. And although these particular actions would be brought in prosecution on behalf of the city, city employees, city public officials, those would be and even members of the law department are subject to the code. And so we'd be essentially prosecuting our potential clients if somebody else filed a lawsuit, for example, against any of those other actors. Our administrative hearings are public, so there's continued transparency. It's not as if our administrative hearings are private. Those are still public hearings where the special counsel would then bring evidence of whether there was a code violation, and we would have an administrative hearing officer make a determination if that evidence was sufficient that showed that the code was violated. It's a much cleaner process, especially since I am managing 2 cases in administrative review currently that came out of the Board of Ethics. And even that was a fight. The first case started when I first joined the city. It was already going on. There was an argument as to whether it even belonged in circuit court. And the court made a determination based upon how we had our code set up that it was the proper venue. But it was just not done cleanly. So this is a much more clean process in having a special counsel prosecute the claims that are brought forward. The special counsel wouldn't be going looking for these charges. It would be based upon a complaint system like we have now. Someone files a complaint, that complaint goes to the special counsel, and then the special counsel would be charged with investigating and bringing that charge before the administrative hearing officer. Insofar as who would, for lack of a better way to describe it, manage that special counsel, that would be our office law department would seek out who that would be, but those communications would not be, they would be handled as if they were a separate entity and not necessarily an extension of the law department. The way our code is currently written, that special counsel, which still does exist, is really an extension of the law department, and it makes for a much more confusing process and record as we've come to determine based upon how these things have played out in the Board of Ethics.
All right, Alderman Rainey.
Yes, Council Cummings, will you tell us of other communities around that have a system such as we're proposing here?
So, excuse me, Ms. Gandersky did consult with the City of Chicago's legal counsel for their ethics department, and their system is similar to this. The only difference is that their board of ethics, or the entity that sort of would represent their board of ethics, operates as if it is an administrative body, because the administrative hearings for the City of Chicago would be too overwhelmed. They're a much larger entity than we are here. They wouldn't be able to handle the number of ethics complaints that come through administrative hearings. So they have a separate entity that acts administratively, but it is handled this way. They also have an office of the Inspector General, which we don't have.
I'm thinking more like Skokie, Wilmette, Morton Grove, those cities around us, suburban, quote unquote, suburban cities.
I will say that although I don't know if any of them handle it this way, none of them handle it the way that we handle it, where a citizen is prosecuting the ethics complaint. And that is what has proven to be problematic when we actually make it to circuit court.
So they don't, are you saying they don't have ethics boards?
I'm not saying they don't have ethics boards. I'm saying that it's not a citizen complaint and there's a citizen and a city employee or a public officer on the other side in front of the ethics tribunal or however large the ethics board is. It's not done the way that we currently do it. It's done in an administrative process where the city is the proper party bringing the charge, which is what we're proposing here. Also, there is one thing I forgot to address, and that's the disclosure of assets. The disclosure of assets is still required by the county. And so that's not going away. It's just that we wouldn't require a separate city disclosure. Those disclosures will still be required by the county.
Is that good, Alderman Rainey? You're good? Alderman Ravel?
So the special counsel would not be a city employee, but would be a person that we would kind of contract with as needed?
That's correct.
So conceivably, we wouldn't need a city council for months and months, special counsel, I mean.
Correct. I mean, the process would require that we actually, for lack of a better way to describe it, retain a special counsel, because the complaints have to go somewhere, right? When someone files a complaint, they have to go somewhere. And that's, so we would have someone retained for that purpose, so that if a complaint comes in, it goes to the special counsel. They are then required to investigate and determine whether there's jurisdiction, and then bring it to an administrative hearing officer. So yes, there could go months and months. 2020, I don't think we had any ethics complaints, right? The Board of Ethics at that point was still trying to resolve complaints that were filed in, I believe, 2019. So you're right, there could be a long period of time where we don't even need a special counsel.
Okay. But the administrative hearing officer, is that a city employee, somebody who's hearing all kinds of things for us and occasionally would hear a Board of Ethics complaint?
They are, I can't necessarily say that they're employees of the city, but yes, they are paid by the city, and they are already retained by the city to hear violations of the city code as it is. So it's a system that's already in place, and we're proposing utilizing that system that's already there, as opposed to creating a separate system. So
it would help me, as you're going to come back to us with a flow chart, if you would kind of give us a little more information about the administrative hearing.
The administrative hearing officers are contractors.
Right, okay. And then to Alderman Rainey's question, I did do a quick look to see what our neighboring communities do about, and I don't know the details of it, but Skokie and Oak Park do have boards of ethics, but I defer to you, Council Cummings, about how their process works. It could be very different from ours.
Yes, I can certainly reach out to Mr. Lorge and folks over at Oak Park to see how they actually run their Board of Ethics. I know that in the research that the law department did prior to coming to you guys, the boards of ethics that issue advisory opinions, those advisory opinions are meant for internal use. So for example, the mayor or members of city council can ask for an advisory opinion about an ethical matter. But ultimately the point is we need to get to an adjudicative result. And that's the reason why we're proposing going to an administrative hearing officer as opposed to a board.
Okay. Well, yeah, well, I appreciate the fact that we will have time to gather more, hear more information, and think more clearly about this, rather than, that we're not making a final decision this evening.
All right, Alderman Wynn.
Corporation Counsel Cummings, congratulations. I think the advantage that I can see of going to an administrative procedure is, well, there are two of them. One, it's not necessarily an Evanstonian, so it's someone who has a even further arm's length distance from whatever the complaint is, and also timeliness. Because one of the problems that we've run into over the years is sometimes not having a quorum at the Board of Ethics, or not having a fully every seat filled on the Board of Ethics. And so in this instance, we always have an administrative hearing officer there who, so there is a timeliness aspect to this, and I think that's all part of due process. That if someone has a complaint, then it actually is timely heard.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I believe it's mentioned in the memo, is we're trying to protect against the due process issues that have arisen as a result of the way that the current system is set up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alderman Fleming.
Nick, when you bring this back, can you kind of lay out your vision for retaining and finding that, ethics attorney that we would use and what the process is, and then also highlight kind of the intake? Would it be something like our police complaint process where someone can do it in a variety of ways and where it would go? And I think it's just important for the citizens that we kind of lay out all the ways in which they would be in touch with this person. And then, as you said, like those hearings being transparent. And I know, I think a couple years ago, Ms. Richardson had spoken about some trainings and things that were going to happen in administrative adjudication office, and I kind of lost track with those, but it would be good to also add in there some information for our residents around our administrative hearing process, because some people might have gone through it, and making sure any trainings and, whatever they need to have in terms of where they're meeting and how they're meeting is also addressed, because now that we're not in City Hall, I don't even know where those hearings take place. And so I think before we approve this, we want to have all the information we can available for people.
Absolutely. I can tell you right now that the expectation is that the selection of special counsel will be done by bid, like most other city opportunities are. So it will be a request for proposal or for firms firms or attorneys to come to us and say, this is, we feel like we're qualified to do this. And with all of the MWBE requirements necessary in order to qualify, it will be part of my vision, but I will come back with further information for you by the next city council meeting on the 26th.
All right, does anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, all right, so this is for action. Ms. Francello, if you will call the roll.
Well, I guess clarification, is this being held in committee until the next Rules Committee? Or do you want to go to City Council? So it's for action because it's for action because in a committee structure, we do things by action and then it goes to City Council for intro and action at City Council? Or would you prefer to hold it in committee and continue to do the work that you requested by city staff?
I thought we were just moving it to council where it could continue that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say hold it in committee because we had a lot of things we want him to bring back. But if you all think that he can discuss in that council, it seems like we all had different things we were asking for him to address at the next discussion point.
I don't think that much of it was fundamental. I think that they were all good questions for clarification, but I don't think that we were asking him to change the basics of what's there. It was additional information for clarification. So I think it should go to the council.
All right, well, if you want to take a vote on that, we can do that. Dara, take it away.
Okay. Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson?
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin?
No.
Alderman Ravel?
Aye.
Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
Mayor Haggerty?
Aye.
All right, so that passes and we're moving on to items for discussion. Item R3 is a discussion on deliberative democracy. Alderman Wilson made a referral to the Rules Committee to discuss deliberative democracy. Alderman Wilson, take it away.
Okay, I won't spend a ton of time on this because it's more along the lines of something that I think should be entertained over a period of time. But, despite people's comments to the contrary, all of us here listen to what the community says. And I think that we've all, shared in our own frustrations as far as the ability of the community to participate in a lot of the decisions in the decision process. So, I think, for example, one thing that doesn't work so well is the great big, brainstorming sessions in the Parasol room. We have 100 people and sitting around tables and people pass around cards and things like that. And, it seems to me that things usually don't get accomplished very well. But I just have been doing some reading and research on this idea of of deliberative democracy, and that's, it's distinct from participatory democracy, because what this does is it provides people with an actual opportunity to participate in a deliberation context. So they are part of a group that gets together. I think for it to be effective, there would have to be a greater degree of randomization, maybe than how we traditionally pick our boards and commissions. But to provide people with a chance to, you put a group together, here's the issue, here's the topic, they work together, and they have to come up as a group with a recommendation for the legislative body. And, the idea of, we're polarized in many ways as a community, we're polarized in many ways as a country. And I think a lot of that has to do with the idea that people are feeling, left out of conversations. And, I don't like this idea that, 50% wins, right? 50% wins the day on any given question. But that doesn't mean that the 49% of the people who might have an opinion or have something to contribute, that those opinions aren't of value. So the idea of deliberation, as opposed to just, taking a vote, can have a number of other, collateral impacts. For example, it might take away the idea of money in politics. So, instead of going straight to a referendum, if you had a group of people that actually worked through an issue and came up with a recommendation, and the community could see that conversation and see how that deliberation went, that people would, number one, buy into it better because they'd see what went into the conversation. But it would also give people a real opportunity to contribute. Public comment for 3 minutes, that's not much of an opportunity. Even these boards and commissions, traditionally, board or commission, they've got a group of people sit in front of the room, there's people that watch, maybe add questions. But personally, as an alderman over the years, the situations where I found, that personally I found most rewarding were situations where we could have working groups, small subcommittees where it was a working group. You have people in the community that are there, you sit around a table and it's interactive. I know Mr. Friedman is constantly begging us for, opportunities to have conversations. And, this would be a way for people to choose an issue. You can't show up for every single thing. You can't show up for every single board meeting. But if something is really important to you, you might have an opportunity to contribute on that issue. So I just think it would be useful if the city and the council going forward entertained this idea and see and maybe looked at ways to come up with some infrastructure to incorporate that into some of the decision-making processes. So thanks for listening to me. Thanks for entertaining the conversation. And I know that there's some information in the packet, and if you just, you can Google it or go on The Economist and find a lot of interesting things that really kind of spell out the value of doing things this way.
Thanks, Don.
All right, is there any further discussion? If not, that is the end of our agenda. So that brings us to new business. Any new business? Any items for communication? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Alderman, sorry, I had one item. I'm sorry I guess it's for just communication. I wanted to get a sense of the council. I'm going to look at applications this week for the reparations committee, and Alderman Ruth Simmons I spoke to late last week, and she asked if we would consider referring to it as a commission instead of a committee. It seemed like a minor request. And I know Kimberly's on here. I'm not sure if we have to go through some council action on this, or if I can put it forward as the community members. I'm putting forward to the commission, the reparations commission.
It does require, excuse me, Mayor, it will require a city council action because it's codified as that language. And so it will require us to come back to city council with that updated change of name.
All right, so then I'm going to leave it to Alderman Ruth Simmons if she wants to put that referral forward at the council meeting. Okay, thank you.
All right, is there any other items for communication? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Dar, do we need to roll call ourselves out of here? Are we good to go?
Okay, Alderman Braithwaite,
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Ruth Simmons,
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin,
Aye.
Alderman Ravel,
Aye.
Alderman Rainey,
Aye.
Alderman Fleming,
Aye.
Mayor Haggerty.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. City Council is posted for 6:30. Thank you, everybody.